Mic check, mic check. You know how we do. Mic check, mic check. Levels is good. We popping. All right. Welcome. Back again, once again, time and time again, my friends. You know what we're doing? Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, in between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, having a live stream, just going over a few pairs, looking for the direction over the next couple of days and possible moves that they could create. So make sure you drop a thumbs up and you are subscribed so you get notified whenever I go live or post some educational content on this channel. But we're gonna get it straight started off with Xag Usd on the monthly time frame. Once again, on this monthly time frame, we've spoken about this level many times. We have structure right in here. We have previous structure support. We broke and closed below, closed below. All these wicks came back to retest this level perfectly. As you could see on the monthly time frame, price was a little bullish on this candle at one point. It was a bullish candle, but now since then it has retested the area and has dropped below the support system or support level, excuse me. And we're now making moves to the downside. So we're just continuing trend. The market moves in waves. It ebbs and flows. If it wants to go down to the downside, it must come back for a retracement of some sort in order to continue the move. And that is what we're getting on the monthly time frame. So more bearishness could be expected on this pair. If we look at the weekly, on Monday when we last spoke about it, this candle was starting to pull back, retrace a little bit. We had a level in the market that we spoke about that could act as some sort of makeshift left shoulder, head, and then we have the potential of a right shoulder right in this area, which is what we were looking for. Got the retracement, didn't come all the way back, and once again, nothing in trading is absolute. It's not going to be exact 100% of the time the same way, so it will be some variations to it, but since this did start the retracement, it has now since continued the downtrend. It's just simply moving in structure. So we made a level in the market, broke it to the downside, made a level in the market, came back, retested the level that was made, and then from there we rejected and we're starting to make a new low on this market. So we're currently retesting the lows as we are right now. If we drop to the daily time frame, we can see this a little more prevalent and in detail. It's just the market is moving in normal form. Move to the downside, retracement, break to the downside, retest previous structure that was broken, continue to the downside. Same thing over and over and over and over. That's all we're doing. That's all we're looking for. But here on the daily, we could see the continuation to the downside for the weekly TMCP. TMCP stands for the most common pattern, which is just a simple impulse, which is anything that breaks structure. A retracement is anything that comes back but does not engulf the previous impulse. So we have to break the structure to the downside. The retracement can't come back farther than the impulse started, and then from there we continue down with another impulse, breaking the structure to the downside. So we're creating and breaking structure in one direction. And if we look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see we have a nice and easy TMCP right here. We have the market that broke to the downside, came back for a retracement, retest previous structure that was broken, and now we're continuing to the downside, just moving in normal market conditions. So jumping back to the daily, we could expect prices to the downside, but since we are so close to these lows, you would like to see the market break these lows first. If you're not already in this move or already have a trade set up on this, you want to see this market break the lows and then come back for the retest for the continuation if you're still looking for bearish moves to the downside. But that is what I have in store for Xag Usd if it wants to go ahead and continue. We'll slide right along to Xag Usd from the monthly time frame. Now this has started to impulse to the downside. It has started the impulse to the downside. So not until we had a break and close above this level, which we were breaking above, but we did not close. We still have 12 days on these monthly candles. So keep that in mind. The way that the candles are now is not the way that they will finish. So I've been saying that for the last few live streams as well. But this is a good example of a price making a move to the downside, coming back for a retracement, retesting previous structure, support, now turned resistance, and we just want to see a continuation to the downside. And once again, if you are looking to capitalize on these moves, you want to get in when the retracement ends and the next impulse starts. You don't want to wait until the market has already made a move. So if we have a impulse here and we have a retracement that is ending up here, we want to try to get in for the next move to the downside right around this area. So as soon as the retracement ends and the next impulse starts is when we want to be in, because if this market comes down and retests the lows and rejects, the probability of it now breaking these levels after the third try is lower. So that you have a higher probability if you catch it on the first break rather than the second break, which is why you want to get in early, somewhere right around the retracement end and before the next impulse starts, because by the time it reaches these levels, more than likely it's a double bottom, and from there you could see the price reject, and now your initial trade setup, trade idea is not valid. So keep that in mind if you're looking to capitalize on any of these pairs. But that's just from the monthly time frame. We can get all that information. So if we know that we've had the end of the retracement after an impulse, and we're looking for the next impulse to continue, just following the simple trend, there could be a possibility that market starts to make a move to the downside. But once again, we are sitting at previous structure resistance that should act as support over on this side. So we've had a little support bounce out of here once, twice. We had a push to the upside but rejected some of these highs in here. So we've been pushing out of this area. It would be nice to see if the market does want to go ahead and make this move to the downside, that it does go ahead and break these lows. So it would be nice to see them break these lows, and then looking for an opportunity to capitalize on this market as it is right now. So the weekly time frame does not have too much to offer. We had a little retracement and the price is starting to reject some of these highs, so we could see further continuation and a push down by the end of the week, and then we could look for the possible opportunity to the downside from a weekly time frame. So a weekly TMC P could be in order. And then if we drop down to the daily time frame, what can we see? We were quite overextended last time we spoke about this pair. We were making moves to the downside. So we had an impulse up and an impulse down. After an impulse, you expect a retracement. You can't just capitalize on the retracement and jump in blindly, but you must wait for the retracement to end. The reason I know that this is an impulse up, because I was waiting for this retracement to end, but it did not. It continued to create an impulse. So from there, I know I'm going to expect a retracement at some point. I was expecting my retracement to come to this level in the market, which lines up perfectly with the previous shoulder over here. But as it is right now, it looks like the market is just kind of consolidating right around this area, not wanting to break these lows, really sitting amongst the lows. So it's not a good opportunity to go ahead and sell and try to sell this market. You would be selling into support, which is not ideal or conducive to logical trading just in general. But nothing really too much. I would either need to see the market break these lows down in here and then look for an opportunity after the retracement comes, or depending on how this forms, we could see the consolidation slash retracement slash pullback slash exhaustion, all of that make its way back up to these areas, and then by sometime next week it could be prime for a move to the downside. We did have XPT USD on the monthly time frame. This is platinum. We were pushing to the upside, so this one wasn't as bearish as the rest of the other commodities. We had a push to the upside, and the market is now starting to reject some of those levels. But we are sitting at previous structure support that should turn resistance right now. We're just failing to break back below that level that would turn the market back bearish or put us back in a situation where the bears have control. If we look at the weekly time frame, we did have a push to the upside. We didn't close above these highs, but we did break them with a wick. And from there, we're starting to get the retracement. We have been just making moves to the upside. We failed to break these lows, came down into these lows where we were expecting a lower low. From there, we did not get that. And from there, we rejected, made a move up, made a move down, made a move up, made a move down, made a move up. And now we are currently on the retracement phase, sitting right at previous structure. So we have structure all in this area right here. Depending on how this week ends, and we can drop down to the daily time frame for that, we could see a possible move to the upside, but it's not likely as the way the daily time frame is sitting right now. So currently all these commodities are starting to look a little bearish, which is normal. But if we look at the daily time frame of XPT USD, what can we see is that we had a nice and easy impulse to the downside, or we had an impulse to the upside. We had failed to break higher, had an M formation. You want to see at the M formation come back complete at the neckline. So Even though we had a more aggressive bullish move to the upside, we started to get a strong retracement, but from there we could still capitalize on these moves in the market, either direction, up or down. After an M formation, you want to see the market come to the neckline, complete the pattern, which is a pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time on all time frames. So go back, check what I'm saying. You'll find it to be true. If you want to learn how to capitalize on these patterns, then go ahead and click the link in the description. It will be a link to my program. You can get that and access that as well and learn the strategies that we use over here. But from there, after that M formation had completed, we then have started to make another move to the downside. So we could see further continuation on this market, coming to reach some of these lows back down in here once again. That could be a possible play as well going into the end of the week as well as the beginning of next week. Let's slide down to US oil from the monthly time frame. We've spoken about this level as well. I'm really glad I'm started on the monthly time frames and going through it and not just zipping through them on the daily, because you all can actually hear and see what I'm saying to be true. We've had previous structure resistance right in here. It should act as support over in here. We're starting to make a bounce out of this area, but this is the monthly candle. We still have 12 days and 3 hours until this candle closes. So the way that the candle is now is not the way that the candle is going to close. But as you can see, once we came into this area, we then rejected and started to make moves to the upside, and that's just from a monthly time frame. If we look at the weekly, you can see that we did speak about this makeshift inverted support area there. We have this area right over here that could act as the right shoulder, and then from there we could see the explosion to the upside out of this market. So that is still a possible play because we're yet to break some of these lows, at least close below some of these lows. Yes, we did come and retest these lows, but we've then been rejected. If we drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that today we came and tapped into some of these areas yesterday and today, and then from there we've exploded to the upside. So we could see a possible move. We wanted to see the continuation to the downside from here and then come back for a retracement for further continuation to capitalize on this market, but we would need to see more than one retracement candle on this market first. So still want to see the move to the downside as long as we are below this structure right in here. We have previous structure resistance that should act as resistance once again. It was acted as support right here, then broken to the downside, retested as resistance, broken to the downside, coming back to retest as resistance once again. We should see the continuation to the downside. Until this level in the market is broken to the upside, it's really not in your favor to be looking for buy opportunities. Now we can look at Euro USD. Euro USD on the monthly time frame still pushing to the downside very aggressively, which is interesting because 2 days ago this candle was pushing to the upside. It started the exhaustion, the retracement. We wanted to see a deep retracement, but this market is so bearish that it will take some time for the market to correct itself in that way, especially on the monthly time frame. So it would be quite some time, maybe 4 or 5 years before some of these levels that we expect to be retested get retested actually. But we are pushing to the downside very aggressively on the monthly time frame. If we look at Euro USD from the weekly perspective, we had the nice and easy perfect TMCP coming out of this market, move to the downside, come back, retest previous structure broken, using it to go ahead and propel to the downside, which I could still see the market making another move and completing the TMCP pattern, the most common pattern in the market. As you can see on this day, we did come back for some sort of retracement, retest the previous structure, and we've done this, thus been rejected quite aggressively. So depending on how this candle closes on the weekly, so we still have 2 days for that, and then if we look at the daily, you can see where I'm coming from. We could see this candle go ahead and start to flip bearish, and we could see the continuation to the downside from a weekly perspective. And if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that we've had this impulse to the downside. We had the level in the market that we didn't want to really see it break above. We kind of wanted to see the retracement end in this level. This is the impulse. We came back for a correction. We wanted to see the market kind of stop right around in here and then start the next impulse, but it came all the way back to some of these previous levels, which is just previous structure support, now turned resistance, and it's tested once again. So we're coming from underneath. It is going to act as resistance once again. And from there, we're starting to see levels in the market being broken. So this could be potential for a TMCP for us to the downside over here. We could see this continuation to the downside right around in here, possibly meet this area right amongst the lows, so it is lining up pretty perfectly with previous structure. As you can see, we've had all this area right here that we could expect the market to go to. And don't make me go back to about a few live streams either, where I was calling out Euro USD perfectly, where I wanted to see it break down and hit some structure support, my overall take profit and target, which kind of was this move pushed to the downside right here. But if we are on the daily time frame, just a move to the downside could be possible, especially going into tomorrow. GBP USD monthly time frame, pushing to the downside aggressively, started the retracement. We still are bullish on this monthly candle, so that could be an indication of further things to come if the candle closes like that, which 12 days and 2 hours, keep that in mind. Monthly candle, we're just looking for the direction. We're extremely bearish, so we could expect some more bearishness on this market if the technicals line up. So if we jump to the weekly time frame, we have previous structure support right in this area that was retested, and we have rejected from that area, and we're looking to make another move to the downside. But since then, we've had a news candle, and then we're starting to make moves to the upside, but we're getting rejected quite aggressively from some of these highs. So yes, we are coming to retest some of this area, which means the correction could be a little more complex, where we see the deeper correction come over and then start to change and start the impulse to the downside. So just being patient on that as well. Nothing really too interesting from the weekly time frame to really take note of, but if we look at the daily time frame, you can see what I'm talking about. We've had this move up, but we've also had an explosive move to the downside, and from there we've had a little bit of exhaustion, coming back to retest previous structure support that has acted as a resistance before as well. So it's a strong structure level, and from there we could probably expect more prices to the downside as well. So that could be a possible play. But if we do get a little break down below, so maybe over the next 2 days, come back, retest this area, we do have a daily patterns set up that we could take advantage of on its way back up, and then from there we could capitalize on the swing trade to the downside, just like we normally do. So that is my possible plays for GBP USD. AUD USD monthly time frame, pushing to the downside quite aggressively, looking to reach some of these lows down in here on the weekly time frame. If I can get to it, on the weekly we found a level of support, and we are starting to retest some previous structures. So coming back for a retest, which was previous structure support right in this area, we're then making a move to the downside. Once we broke it, it should act as resistance, and then we could see trend continuation, and that's just from the weekly. And if we do go to the daily time frame, you can see we're starting to consolidate right in this area. We have not reached and retested previous structure support yet, just from this daily time frame. So there could possibly still be a move to the upside. We do have a makeshift little support area here. We did break below. We have yet to break and close below the left shoulder. So we could see an explosion to the upside from this market. And if that does happen, then that changes the whole landscape of everything. But as it is right now, we could expect bearish prices because we're failing to break these highs just on the immediate retracement. So we're failing to break above this area right here. We can't even make it to previous structure. So that says a lot in itself. Let's go to USD CAD from the monthly time frame, aggressively pushing to the upside. So very, very bullish. Actually started the retracement to the downside, but has thus been rejected from some of the lows. And this is relative to the time frame and the areas specific you're speaking about. So if I'm talking about these highs, once price comes down in this area, these are considered the lows, and we're starting to reject from some of those. But if we go down to the daily time frame, you can see that we've had a move to the downside, a very aggressive move to the downside, not necessarily closing below structure, so no impulse, but we do have some sort of weak retracement coming into previous structure resistance. Not only acted as once, but twice, thrice, a fourth time, a fifth time, a sixth time, seventh time. We're currently retesting it right now, so we're retesting it 9 times, and we've not broken above this and continued to impulse, creating and breaking structure. So really there could be a possibility where this does break these highs, but then you would still want to wait for the retracement to come back in this area, and then you get to capitalize on the impulse to the upside. You're getting in somewhere around in here once the retracement ends and the next impulse starts, so you can ride this to the upside. If you wait for the market to retest and then come back for this area, we're in a double top situation Why are you trying to expect prices to make higher highs when it's shown you it's failed to break these highs right here? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. Keep it logical. But yeah, that's it. Really, we want to see the market break above these highs before we start to look for any opportunities. Nzd Usd monthly time frame. If we do look at it, we did come into previous structure support. So we're starting to get the bounce. Just simple market structure, previous structure, yet to be retested, can expect to be respected. And then as well, a previous structure that has been respected in the past, you can also expect it to be respected. So this was support once in the past. It's now acting as support once again. We've seen a bounce out of this market. If we drop to the weekly time frame, we still have 2 days for this weekly candle to close, but this is the level in the market we found as support, and we're failing to break below. But as well, this candle needs to break several levels of structure to the upside before we can look for any buy opportunities. Nothing really too exciting on the weekly, and if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that we're starting to get we're starting to get a W formation on the daily. So we've had a move to the downside, move up, move down. We're starting to break above some of these highs, and if we do come back, we should retest the neckline right around this area, and that would set us up perfectly for a move to the upside. We would be in trend. USD CHF monthly time frame, pushing to the upside very aggressively. You know that this is my pride and joy example of exactly what we talk about, keeping it simple. Nothing doesn't need to be too complicated, but just the simple and most common pattern in the market is a break above structure. We had structure here, structure here, structure here, resistance here, resistance, resistance, resistance here. A break above all of that, a retracement, exhaustion, consolidation. Not really consolidation, but it can consolidate, come back for retracement, exhaustion, correction. Any of all that comes back to where previous structure was before that was broken, and then we continue the trend, making a higher high in this case, or a lower low if we were selling. That is just simply the way the market works. And if you look at this monthly time frame, we spoke about it every single live stream. That is exactly what has been happening, and we're starting to create higher highs. So imagine if you knew where the market was supposed to go, how you can capitalize it on smaller time frames, how you could capitalize on it on smaller time frames. USD CHF on the weekly time frame, you can see that we did have a level in the market here that we did identify that could be possible magnets to the market before we start to see continuation to the upside. We did have a W formation right around this area, but price came close but did not touch the neckline yet as far as the retracement is concerned. But if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that we had a big explosion, and the reason this level was marked out on the weekly is because if you look at the daily, its previous structure resistance broken to the upside, now acting as support. Thanks, Siri. Now acting as support, and from there we've seen the explosion to the upside where it looks like this market wants to go ahead and complete the impulse and create a higher high. Just simple market structure, man. Monthly time frame of USD JPY pushing to the upside very aggressively. If we look at the weekly, we still have not gotten a retracement yet, so we are extremely overextended from a weekly time frame. But if we do look at the daily time frame as well, you can see we've had a big impulse all the way up, where some of these areas we want to see the market come to, but it has not. We're failing to come all the way down, which means there is an extreme amount of bullish pressure on USD JPY. Of course, Japanese yen is a safe haven, so take that with a grain of salt as to what is happening. And then we go over BTC USD, and we look at it on the monthly time frame. Spoken about it before, same thing. I'm gonna speak about it one more time. Previous structure resistance, now acting as support. Now this 18,000, 17,000 price point is currently holding the market above that. The market is failing to break above that. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, you can see that we're finding a lot of structure in here, a lot of support right in this area. Oh, excuse me. And then if we look a little closer in on the daily time frame, you can see that we're just having some consolidation right at the lows. So we could be a change of hands from You know, the market institutions and players were going from being so bearish, we're finding a level of support. We start to slow the momentum down in the direction that we're going. So say we're making moves to the downside. Once we start to slow down and the moves to the downside aren't getting as aggressive. As a matter of fact, they start to get a little horizontal. Then from there, you start to see a change of hands and the market start to make its way back up. So like I said in the last one and every single live stream, just make sure you're tuned in that Bitcoin is expected to have its next halving event in 2024. So not until 2024, which is the catalyst for all this explosion to the upside as well. The first halving event is what caused all this. The next one isn't supposed to come until 2024. So if we want to see prices retest some of these highs or even create newer highs, that would probably be the one time that there will be enough liquidity in the market to go ahead and propel it up to those numbers, or at least come retest the highs once again. From there, you're on your own. You got to make your own judgment. But if you go ahead and click the link in the description, join in the gang, we can get you set up so you can maneuver the market on your own ways, profitably and professionally, using multi-time frame analysis and structure the right way. But that's everything, man. Nice, short, and sweet here on a Wednesday. I don't want to really take it too long. It's not a full market breakdown, but we'll be back on Friday in between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, what the chat look like. Y'all want me to go over any pairs that I did not cover in this one? So any of the other crosses or exotics, indices, anything? Nothing. Everybody good? All right. If y'all good, I'm good. I'm going to hop on up off here and I'll holler at y'all on Friday. Appreciate you. I hope you're having a profitable day on and off the charts. And until next time. Booyah.